I'm going to bring up the woman that introduced that bill, Gilda Cobb-Hunter. Representative Cobb-Hunter, Warrensburg.
Hey. Thanks, Brett. Let me start by saying happy Voting Rights Act Day. Today, as some of you, hopefully all of you may be aware, marks the 50th anniversary of President Johnson signing the Voting Rights Act. And I think it's fitting that we're here today to talk about what South Carolina has done to make sure that in spite of Shelby v. Holder, we still can allow some protections for voters in this state. And I want to preface my comments by suggesting to you that a part of why this is so close to me and why I am very, very much interested in it is because I was one of the defendants that testified, or part of the suit that testified before the 3-judge panel. And I am just so focused and committed to voting rights and what we do and don't do to make sure that people are able to participate in our democracy. I also want to take just a minute to make 2 points. One, I'm a member of the legislature, but even more importantly, I am a very proud member of the South Carolina Progressive Network, and I want to thank Brett Bursey and the network for what they do. Because Brett and I do a whole lot of things well, but one of the things that we are just miserable at is self-promotion. And quite frankly, I have forgotten all about this bill because, as has been the history in my legislative career, I'm not really very concerned with who gets credit. I've learned a long time ago that you'd be surprised at what you can get done when you don't care who gets credit. So the process in which this bill was passed is one that I have utilized throughout my legislative career, and that is simply introduce legislation, allow it to get through the House, go to the Senate where it usually dies when it has my name on it, and that's something that is to be said for Senate rules that allow 1 or 2 senators to block legislation. So when the bill came back, I amended it to include my language, and that's why we're here today, and that's why that bill is now law. I do also want to add that in this state, red as it is, where bipartisanship is few and far in between, I'm proud to say that the then chair of the House Election Laws Subcommittee, Alan Clemens, supported this legislation. When I talked with him about it, he said, you know, Gilda, that makes sense. I'm all for making sure that people know about this, so I support it. So I like to give credit where credit is due, and I'm going to suggest to you that the success of this is due to a bipartisan effort on the part of myself and Alan Clemens. And let me just conclude my comments before I bring on the man who needs no introduction by saying to you, here in South Carolina, we have a very long way to go. Today, we're talking about voting rights and voter protection. There are some of us who remember the last redistricting effort here in this state, which has made voting rights and voter protection so very difficult. And I stand before you as a member of the legislative Black Caucus and as a member of the House Democratic Caucus to let you know that I was incensed during the last redistricting that neither the House Democratic Caucus nor the legislative Black Caucus raised any concerns about the redistricting process. Why? Because everybody carved out their own little district and the hell with the rest of the state. Finally, when we look at the congressional plan, if you check the record, for those of you who choose to be factual in your reporting, please go back and check the House Journal when we talked about the 7th district. Check the votes on the plan that I offered, which would have made the 7th district a competitive district for Democrats, you'll see that we had the opportunity and we blew it.